Welcome back to the second segment, episode 289 of Sold with Updike Pugh. I'm Jeff Updike.
I am Weston Pugh, and today we thought it would be timely for us to talk about climate change related homeowners insurance coverage.
It's really become an issue.
It has become a huge issue, and I think that just within the last 2 weeks, some of the catastrophic events that happened because of both Helena and Milton, we thought this would be timely. Tammy Farmer actually is an insurance manager in our office, and she actually helped us come up with the segment. And so we want to just hit some of the highlights that will help you to make sure you and your family and your belongings are all covered.
So scientists have been warning about climate change since the 70s, and there's not really a lot that there's certainly been periods where their carbon emission type gases have been reduced, but it seemed like they just continue to grow and grow and grow.
And because of this, we've seen storms, hurricanes that are astronomical in size. I saw research the other day that showed how much these have increased in size over the last 5 and 10 years. One of the things we're also seeing is that not only do these hurricanes create huge bands of flooding, but they also spawn monster sets of tornadoes. I believe just with Helena, there were some 80 different tornado warnings issued across the Southwest.
I think at one time, at one point, there were 9 tornadoes on the ground in northern Florida, or in part of Florida.
And that's just because of the tornado.
Just because of Helene.
Yep. Hurricane bands.
Yep, just because of that.
We also have a huge risk for wildfires, and whether it's not just a California seasonal issue, we have seen this just this year. The Panhandle of Texas had several issues where actual major alerts and highways were in closure. This is a huge devastation to both land, plants, animals, but also property.
And water backups are actually a really big risk, and you need to know if you've got coverage for this, because this is we were talking about the example earlier of a homeowner that has a septic system. They're not on a municipal sewer system, and when they get heavy rains, that can flood and back up into their house.
Which is something that could create a huge number of problems. Understanding your perils of your insurance policy. Perils are referred to as an event causing damage such as water, wind, or fire. Home insurance policies affect which perils are covered and excluded.
And in policies, this is one of the big differences in what different companies cover. And so you really, I hate to say it, you have to read your insurance policy.
And this is one of those situations where you could be in Asheville, North Carolina, and not need flood insurance because you're not in a FEMA flood map. And the record is that 0.7% of them had flood insurance. And then when Helene came through, it wiped out thousands of buildings. This is a really tough situation for people to find themselves in when it's too late. So let's talk a little bit about flood insurance. Jeff, I got a question for you. Is flood insurance automatically included in your homeowner's coverage?
Never.
Okay, never.
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 Would you like to expand on that?
Flood insurance is not provided by insurance companies. Flood insurance is provided by it's almost a government agency that issues it. And the rates are really based upon how big of a risk factor you have. Like people in Asheville that are nowhere near a body of water that have flood, that wanted to get flood insurance, it probably would have cost them a couple of $100s a year, let's say. Maybe that's a little low, but it would have been negligible. But if you are next to a body of water that has a history of flooding, I mean, they could run you another $1,500 a year.
So you don't have to live in a flood zone to buy flood insurance.
Not at all.
You also are not covered the minute you sign up for that coverage.
That is correct. It takes 30 days for that to get in force.
So if a tornado or season is approaching and it's within 30 days, you could be in trouble.
That's exactly right.
So deductibles for wind, hail, and hurricanes. This is something that we have been talking about all summer because we have seen this really begin to shift. I think that a lot of people had their policies updated and everybody was out searching. And they have really changed to 2 and to 3% right now of the policy.
Insurance companies have really lost a lot of money over the last 4 or 5 years, and it they have to be able to have some return to shareholders, but the state is real. The state of Texas really is the one that licenses insurance companies to be here, and part of that rate is what kind of deductible you're going to take.
And so here's an example. 2% on a $550,000 home would be $11,000. Now, if it was 3%, that would be $16,500. And that's probably what you're looking at to replace your roof.
Absolutely.
That's your out of pocket.
Yeah,
So
and you really, if it's only $5,000 more, do you really want to file a claim
Exactly.
to get that $5,000? Because they're going to get the $5,000 back over the course of the next few years just because you've got a claim.
now, we don't think that any of these weather events are going to suddenly miraculously stop. And so I think what we need to talk about now is what is the best way to prepare in the future for these risks?
So number one, review your policy. Go over it in detail with your insurance agent. Read the policy and see what's covered. And if it's not specifically stated in there that it is covered, it is not covered.
100%.
They tell you what they're covering. So you need to read that and think about what scenarios you might be going through.
Unlike a real estate contract that says exclusions, their policies do not say exclusions. It only says, like you said, what's covered. Also, an experienced agent. This is why I think it is so important to have a clear understanding with who you're working with, how long have they been in the business, who is the company that they represent, and can they make time for you to sit down? Because if they can't make time for you when things are good, are they going to make time for you when things are tough?
Right. And stay up to date. The FEMA flood maps change. They're updated regularly. It used to be they were updated every 10 years, but now because of climate change and the impact it's having, they're getting updated more and more often.
So last but not least, let's talk about prioritizing your cover. This is when people are so focused just on the premium that they forego some of these coverages that they need, even though it doesn't seem like it's a possibility. So don't prioritize that premium.
I went through a review this last year and changed insurance companies, and the phone call just to go through with one company was an hour and 15 minutes. So you really have to devote the time to do this.
Yep. So by understanding these risks and staying informed, home buyers can reduce the financial burdens caused by catastrophic weather events. Last but not least, we'd like to give you Tammy Farmer's information. Reach out to her. She is wonderful. Text, call. She will make it happen.
She will. So we hope you found this helpful. If there's any other topics you'd like for us to talk about, just let us know in the comments below.
And just remember, we want to be realtors for life.